Hey everybody, my name is Shibby. I'm an esports colorcaster and celestial ranked player in Marvel Rivals, and today I want to talk about why the Marvel Rivals esports scene is actually looking very bright for the year of 2025. So if you guys haven't been paying attention or have been living under a rock, Marvel Rivals just made a massive announcement regarding their esports scene. They announced the new Marvel Rivals Ignite tournament, which will span from May up until the end of November. This tournament will be broken up into two separate stages. Stage 1 will run from May to July, and Stage 2 will be from August to November. Stage 1 will end with the mid-season finals tournament, and Stage 2 will have it end with the grand finals tournament, with respective prize pools of about $500,000 for the mid-season finals tournament and $1 million for the grand finals. Each of these stages will begin with an open qualifier section where everyone can compete. America and EMEA get 8 open qualifier slots, while Asia, China, and Oceania get 6 open qualifier spots each, respectively, for their regions. For Stage 1, the top teams from both the Marvel Rivals Championship Season 1 and the MRI will have direct invites that are separate from the open qualifier slots. This will then turn into a group stage where the qualifier teams plus the direct invites will then compete in a tournament where 50% of the teams will move forward and the other 50% will be eliminated. The remaining teams after that tournament will compete in what is called the mid-season finals for Stage 1. Stage 2 follows a very similar format where it comes to the qualifiers, but it looks like the group stage and the playoffs portion might be a little bit different from what we've seen in Stage 1. This all culminates in the grand finals tournament that has a $1 million prize pool. We still don't know the details of how the mid-season tournament and the grand finals tournament format is going to be, if they're going to take a bunch of different top teams after the playoffs, or how are they going to make the format, whether it's double elim, best of 5, or if it's single elim, best of 5, or how the grand finals are going to be. I'm very interested to see when all that information kind of gets released on those tournaments. But right now, it seems like we have a pretty solid blueprint, if not structure, for how the next 7 months of major tournament or big major tournament styles are going to be for a lot of these esports orgs. Speaking of esports organizations, I want to give you guys a bit of a primer from the last couple of months. If you guys haven't been paying attention to Marvel Rivals esports because it just hasn't had a lot of hype or support yet other than the MRC and the MRI, we have smaller tournaments like Fight Night. We also have other tier 2 tournaments like the Valhallan Order that runs VGL. But in terms of North America specifically, the esports scene for Marvel Rivals is very competitive. At the moment, we seem to have 3 teams that kind of are a cut above the rest at the moment. 100 Thieves, Sentinels, and FlyQuest seem to be the top 3 teams in North America. Other teams that are competing at the moment are teams like Shroud X, which is a team created by popular FPS streamer and former CSGO pro Shroud. Other competitive teams like Shikigami, Luminosity, NA, Nightmare, and Magnets kind of round out the top 10 or top 8 teams competing in North America. 100 Thieves, Sentinel, and FlyQuest, those teams usually consist in the top 4 in some combination of the big major tournaments here. The previous consensus, or the overall consensus earlier, was that 100 Thieves was the best team in North America, but Sentinels won the most recent Marvel Rivals Championship tournament, beating 100 Thieves, while even before that, or a little bit earlier before that, 100 Thieves won the most recent Marvel Rivals Invitational tournament, beating FlyQuest in the grand finals, while Sentinels ended up placing 3rd. So there you can see how there's that bit of trifecta. We've also got smaller tournaments like Rivals Fight Night, which is kind of like a King of the Hill style kind of tournament, where the previous champion of the Rivals Fight Night tournament looks to defend their spot against 2 new challengers. So essentially it happens both for North America and Europe. I believe China also has a Rivals Fight Night. So what they will do is they'll invite 2 more new teams on while their defending champion is there waiting for the winner of that match to then defend their title. I think it's a really cool concept. If you recognize some of the casters, they're from the Overwatch scene. I think it's very, very competitive. It gives us a nice look at some of the top teams other than 100 Thieves, FlyQuest, and Sentinels, even though those are some of the teams that get invited or some of the times will be defending their title. But recently it's been really good in terms of North America, with Shroud X and Shikigami kind of fighting for some of those top spots and saying that they can take games off of those top teams and top players. Europe is a little bit different. Europe arguably has the best team in the world with Virtus Pro. Virtus Pro has been dominating the EMEA region since its inception. Essentially every single tournament they have competed in, they have won. And this is not an over-exaggeration. Literally every tournament that they're a part of, they have gotten first place in. You could argue that North America has a more competitive region than Europe, simply because of the investment of orgs and how competitive the region is in terms of top teams, and that because Virtus.pro is dominating Europe, that Europe probably doesn't have a super competitive scene. But it's very clear that Virtus.pro individually is a cut above EU, and that they can definitely be the greatest team in the world or the best team in the world at the moment. I don't think a competition between Virtus.pro versus 100 Thieves or Virtus.pro versus FlyQuest or Sentinels is going to be like a domination from either side. I think it'll be very competitive, and I'm sure Virtus.pro definitely can beat some of those teams pretty consistently, as well as the other side, right? Like, I'm sure 100 Thieves is a very good team. Sentinels and FlyQuest can take games off of Virtus.pro. In regards to the Asia, China, and Oceanic regions, which were announced during that Marvel Rivals Ignite tournament, essentially the 5 regions being the Americas, EMEA, China, Asia, and Oceania, those regions don't have a ton of investment at the moment. Team OUG from China have placed the best in the past couple Chinese tournaments. The Rivals Fight Night, I believe the MRC as well, they placed first. The more interesting conversation to have in my mind regarding the Asian regions is, now that this huge Ignite tournament has been announced with like $3 million worth of prizing, with 500,000 going to that mid-season finals tournament and 1 million going to that grand finals tournament, you may start to see more prolific esports organizations in Korea and China begin to actually invest in Marvel Rivals esports. That is the ideal scenario, right? If you look at Korea, which will be competing in the Asia region, teams like T1 or organizations like T1, Hanwha Life, D+, DRX, Genji could all begin to take serious steps in investing in the Marvel Rivals esports scene in Asia so that they can get spots into those tournaments, whether it's the mid-season or grand finals. Historically as well, with China, we could see orgs like EDG, BLG, JDG, or Weibo start to pick up teams and do a similar motion as Korea has, or as Korea, I think, will. Now, historically, when it comes to the Asian regions, they tend to dominate in the esports that they actually care about, right? So if you look at League of Legends, Valorant, Overwatch, obviously being the closest example, China and Korea have historically been some of the best teams once they actually start to care and compete, and once orgs start to really pick up momentum and start to really take these games seriously. So we may be in a similar boat, whereas right now North America and Europe arguably have the most competitive teams. Probably they would round out the top 10 teams with maybe like I said, OUG maybe sneaking in there as like number 9 or number 10 or number 11. But that could quickly change if both Asia and or both the Korean and Chinese regions begin to start taking Marvel Rivals esports a lot more seriously. Now, I do have concerns with the esports scenes that I kind of want to highlight here. One of the main concerns I have is the same kind of issues that I've seen with Overwatch, and the same that I have seen with Overwatch personally, is the spectatability of the game. There are 12 heroes in the game in Marvel Rivals at any given point, and there can be an insane amount of stuff happening on the screens as we spectate the game. Multiple support ults, tank ultimates could be going off at the same time, or as in chain reactions where one Luna Snow ultimates, then your Luna Snow ults, or 2 Invisible Woman ultimates come down, multiple Eye of Agamottos, multiple Meteors. I mean, don't even get me started on the DPS ultimates that are really hard to track. Things like Star-Lord ultimate, or if we have double Hela ulting. I think the spectator system for Marvel Rivals is relatively in-depth, where you can free cam a lot on top of having those, focused player cams. And from my knowledge and experience, the priority when it comes to spectating players in these team-based shooters, whether it's Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, whatever, the priority goes from like DPS, tank, and support, with, the exception of if a support is countering a DPS ultimate very well, or if a tank is using one of his ultimates to counter multiple ultimates at the same time. Obviously, that's up to the skill of both the spectators and the prod team that's on that side, and what tools they have available to them, right? It can be very difficult. It is very hectic spectating hero shooters for one observer. So I assume at the highest level, we're going to have like multiple observer teams and stuff like that. Another concern I have is how other tournaments are going to run alongside Ignite at the moment, because it is a 7-month long kind of endeavor that is directly funded by NetEase or the Marvel Rivals team. In an ideal world, for me at least, Marvel Rivals gets picked up by other TOs that run alongside these tournaments, right? Think ESL, Red Bull, DreamHack, Blast, other tournament operators in the space that are making way at the moment. They can run these tier 1 level tournaments that orgs can compete in, so that we can kind of tackle the sustainability issues with esports in general, and how some of these games and some of their esports have been suffering for a while, right? We are in this sort of esports winter, as a lot of people will call it. I think creating a solid tier 2 system as well would benefit Marvel Rivals immensely, either through their own investments like they've done with Ignite, or empowering other TOs to run tournaments for up-and-coming players in Marvel Rivals. Like I mentioned, the Valhallan Order is a organization, is a TO that I cast with, other casters like Artie and Vaudable cast with, and there are a lot of tier 2 orgs or orgs that made their name competing in those tournaments that have then gone on to do greater things. So I think creating that maybe like pseudo official tier 2 system where you can have these up and coming players have a sort of path to pro, I think that'll be very important for the health and longevity of Marvel Rival esports as a whole. Just because if you have that solid tier 1, tier 2 system, you can begin to, track storylines early on, and you can watch the rise and fall of certain players, comeback stories, renaissances, all this kind of stuff. That's the main thing with esports and games in general. The game can run fine, the game can be amazing, but if you're not also hammering in on the narrative side of stuff, right? If you're not giving a reason for people to actually care about why this player is competing or why this team is competing, their heartfelt story, or maybe they're super competitive, or maybe there's a villain team or something like that. I mean, you look at like League, you look at Valorant, you look at some of the other most successful esports in our day and age, CSGO, all this stuff. They have all those elements. On top of being a very good game, they also have very good narratives. They also have very good casters and storytelling teams, and they have editing teams. They have all these different things that help build the esport holistically, or sorry, not holistically, but build the esport from the ground up, that get people to care. Because obviously right now, I think with Marvel Rivals, there's a big split in like, here's the casual audience that just likes to play ranked or likes to play quick play and just plays the game, and they watch their favorite streamers, whether it's Boger, Flats, Necros, whoever, right? And they like watching that side of Marvel Rivals. And then you've got the esports side, where you have people like me. You've got a lot of people that there is an audience for MRC, MRI, that there's an audience for Rivals Fight Night. And in an ideal world, both of those audiences combined, you get more of the casual side coming in and watching these teams and like watching their favorite players and following their favorite players and trying to learn more about the game. I know a big reason as to why a lot of people will watch the esport initially is that they want to watch the best players play the game, and they want to see the strategies they implement and use them in their own games. I think you have to look beyond that a little bit and just, like I said, give reasons for the casual audience to come in, right? Promoting the tournament, promoting the big tournaments that are happening in the client would be a big step up, right? Allowing them to click something and click on it, and it opens another link for them on their web browser, and it just throws the tournament up so that they can watch it, and you can have like live updates, creating highlight packages, all that stuff. Social media presence is very important for Marvel Rivals, at least on the esports side, like highlighting all the best players, highlighting crazy moments. All that comes into a big gumbo of sorts of Marvel Rivals esports that I think is very important so that we can kind of keep this thing going. I think the game is very fun, obviously. As we've seen, it is the hero shooter as of right now, right? Overwatch was very dominant for a long time because it was kind of the only one that was in that space. Marvel Rivals came in. They challenged that space. They came in with a known IP, obviously in the Marvel universe, and it just got everybody hooked. And it's still very big, whether it's on console, PC, globally. I think it's still a very big game, and it has a lot of longevity. The game is fun. You've got teams coming in now that are competing at a high level. You've got TOs stepping up. So I think in 2025, I think Marvel Rivals has the best opportunity to strike while the iron's hot and capitalize on everything that is making this game fun and making the esports scene it is, right? And having it thrive, right? In-game skins, imagine 100 Thieves skins, Sentinel skins, all your favorite orgs, all that kind of stuff, I think will be very important to sort of, I'd say, cross-pollinate the casual audience with the esports audience. But other than that, I want to kind of know your opinions on whether you'll be watching Marvel Rivals esports. Like, leave it in the comment section below. If you need places to start, I'm going to link a bunch of different leagues below, obviously in my description box. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments. I'm more than happy to point you guys in the right direction. I'm a Marvel Rivals caster. I've been casting a lot of the Marvel Rivals tournaments that have been happening recently, although there haven't been too much. I've been in on some of those tier 2 tournaments and everything like that, so I'll link that as I'm doing that. There's also a podcast that's up and running with Vaudable and RDIRL. If you're familiar with those two from the Rocket League scene or the Valorant scene, they run something called Rivals and Rants that talks about the Marvel Rivals esports scene. They have really good content. They have players and coaches on. So there is an audience and there is content for it. I just want to point you guys in the right direction. So appreciate everybody for watching. Thank you so much. And I will see you next time for my next video. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I'm going to tell you something you've heard a million times before. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications on my latest uploads. I try and respond to every single comment in my video because I genuinely do appreciate everyone that takes the time out of their busy schedules to leave one, and I love interacting with my community. If you want to catch more longer form content, I stream over on Twitch about 3 to 4 times a week, where you'll get unedited versions of these videos, as well as we talk about roster moves, patch changes, as well as gameplay over there. If you care about the short form side, I post pretty frequently on YouTube Shorts and TikTok, where you'll get more condensed version of this content, as well as highlights from my stream, amongst other things. I'm also on Twitter, and all of this will be in the description box below, as well as a pop-up that will form on the right side where you can catch me on all the different platforms. I genuinely appreciate everyone that stops by on this channel and watches all my videos, and I hope to see you in the next one.